My name is Jory Brinkerhoff. I'm an associate professor of biology. When I was an undergrad, I engaged in wildlife research. I was interested in landscape ecology in ways that the environment influences wildlife and their movements in different habitat types. My interest in diseases developed from one experience I had after my undergraduate. I worked in a wildlife hospital down in Florida, and so thinking about the kinds of parasites and the kind of diseases that these wildlife species were presenting with sparked a new interest in me. My current research is focused on tick-transmitted disease, and this year tick season is a little bit complicated by COVID-19. Many of the tick-transmitted diseases that I study present with similar symptoms to each other, things like fever, body ache, headache, fatigue. Some of these symptoms are also overlap with COVID-19. Of course, COVID-19 is also associated with respiratory symptoms, coughing and shortness of breath. We don't tend to see those with tick-transmitted disease. There is that overlap in symptoms, and my worry this year is that clinicians and even patients might not be thinking about tick-transmitted diseases, and if they have a fever, the assumption is going to be probably been exposed to the COVID virus and they have COVID-19, and it's really incumbent on clinicians, physicians, as well as patients to keep tick-transmitted diseases in mind, given that there is that overlap of symptoms. I was attracted to the University of Richmond because it gave me the opportunity to do high-level research with a very strong student body of undergraduates. Since I started in 2011, I've worked with about 40 students in my research laboratory. Some students are interested more in field projects, and so I would take them out during the summer months. We would go sample ticks from the environment. We would go sample small mammals and collect samples from those. Some students have a strong interest in lab bench-based approaches. They might want to work on molecular genetics, and so I can accommodate those students as well. Most of my students do tend to stick around for at least 2 semesters, many for much longer than that, up to 3 years or more, and students will participate often in 1 or more summers of student research. One thing that's interesting and potentially important about my research is that it occurs at a sort of overlapping point between wildlife biology, between conservation biology. There's a public health component as well, and so it's kind of at the intersection of all these different disciplines. What's also, I think, really interesting is that studying disease biology, we can use a lot of different tools. I can use field-based tools, I can use geospatial tools where we use satellite imagery to analyze the landscape and ask questions about how variation in the natural environment affects risk to disease. We can use molecular genetics and other lab-based approaches to ask questions about spread and expansion of ticks and tick-transmitted disease.